Hello everyone, and welcome back to TowerGate, day 52. It is April the 24th, 2017. So this week's going to be kind of the calm before the storm, before the hearings start. So there may be some things that pop up this week, but probably going to be the calm before the storm. Once these hearings heat up, though, and get started, I'm sure we're going to have quite a few interesting things to discuss, and we'll know a lot. Just in the first couple days of the hearings, we'll have a very good idea which way this thing is probably going to go. You already know what I think even before it starts, but we'll just wait and see. But the last 24 hours, not a whole lot going on, obviously, in the TowerGate story. But what has happened over the past week and a half, we've had quite a bit of information coming out in the last week and a week and a half. And so it's taken some time for all this to be vetted out and researched, and so had a little bit of a chance for a lot of people to look at this new information that came out in the past week and a half, and formulate some ideas on it. Guarantee it's the legitimacy of some of these things, and so an opportunity for people to sit back and connect some more dots and come up with some more narratives on what we are looking at here with the TowerGate situation. So really nothing new to report, but there's a couple of good articles I'm going to put in the description for you to read, which are worth your time. None of these are long articles or anything like that. Just click on the little thing there, the word says show more, and it'll drop down and you'll see the links. So I'm going to leave you the links to a story that, again, this is not new, came out about a week ago. I touched on a little bit, but you may want to take a look at it for yourself. And this has to do, the first one is with Larry Johnson. Some of you may be familiar with Larry Johnson. He, right after the TowerGate story came out, he was on RT, and I believe he was on InfoWars and a couple other sort of alternative sites. Wasn't really sure how legit it was, but now that we've had other information confirming what he stated several weeks ago, I now feel a little bit more comfortable about, taking a look at what Mr. Johnson has to say. Of course, he was a CIA field office supervisor for many years in South America, and then he moved into the State Department. He still has a lot of friends in the State Department, and he basically talks about in this article, which is on American Intelligence Media, is just one of the many links you can find for it, but that's the one I gave you. And basically in this particular article, he says that he has friends inside the State Department and the CIA, and he stays in regular contact with them. And in this particular article, he talks about the fact that people inside the agencies are telling him that Obama was the one who gave the green light to release the dossier. And of course, this was all in conjunction with Brennan. And Brennan, of course, we know was probably the primary player on the intelligence side that really was pushing this dossier. And of course, we know from the last few days that James Comey was also working with Christopher Steele in his effort to verify the dossier. So we had the FBI trying to verify the dossier that was leaked through the chain, which we talked about. And so it's a really good article, and I put a link there. You might want to read that. It's a good article, and it goes into some pretty good detail about that. Also, there's another really good article that's on Live Trading News, and it's another really good article that takes a lot of the recent information we've had in the last week and a half, connects the dots, and puts that into a very good story, which includes all the information we have up to this point. So it gives you a very good overview of where we are as we approach the hearings. And it's from a lot of this information that I'll be watching these hearings, knowing what we have now that's out there and has been verified through these sources, multiple sources, including journalists who all have different sources verifying all this. This kind of tells me what kind of questions I would be asking if I were sitting on the House or Senate Intelligence Committee. So it's a really good story. I have put the link there in the description, so you may want to take a look and read that as well. It's definitely worth your time. These are not long articles. These are, you can read them in 3-4 minutes. less than 5 minutes. There's another good article, but it appears on Wall Street Journal. It originated there. There's many other sites, but they'll all link you to this Wall Street Journal is where you have to go to read it. Now, the thing about the Wall Street Journal is you actually have to be a subscriber to read anything on it. If not, then what happens is it just doesn't give you the full story. It'll give you a couple paragraphs, and it's really light. It's like highlighted, so you really can't do anything with it. So you would have to have a Wall Street Journal subscribe to it, which you got to click on the subscribe link. You can sometimes they'll run a free trial subscription for 30 days or something, but sometimes they don't. Sometimes they'll want you to pay for a subscription without a free trial. So you might want to try that. But it's a very good article, and it's called "What Devin Nunes Knows," and this was written again a couple of weeks ago. And it really does go into detail and lays out about a half a dozen things that Devin Nunes did learn from when he went over and looked at that intelligence, and it explains a lot more about how that played out. And it's a very good article, and it's very interesting because from what Devin Nunes saw, we now know that Trey Gowdy has seen the exact same thing, as has anybody on that House Intelligence Committee that cared to go over and take a look. Because basically what they did, they said, okay, you got a problem with what Nunes saw, that's fine. Any of you that sit on this committee can come over and view it. Exactly what we showed him. So it's been made available to everyone. They all know it. You can see what's there. And based on that, that should have a lot to do with the types of questions that, quite honestly, better be asked in these hearings. So that is a Wall Street Journal article. I'll provide the link for that as well. So basically that's pretty much what we have today in TowerGate. It's just kind of a recap and connecting the dots of the information that's come out in the last week and a half, which has been some pretty substantial information. So I highly recommend that you take a few minutes and click on a couple of those links, and I think you'll find that they're well worth a couple of minutes of your time to get a better overview and narrative of what we're looking at, which is pretty much what I've been talking about for the past 2 weeks or so. But it's not just a brief summary like what I do. It actually drops some details, and I think it's a little bit easier when you're reading something to comprehend that type of thing. It sticks in your mind a little bit better and gives you an idea what we should expect as we watch these hearings take place. Okay, one other story that I talked to you about a week and a half ago. It was a story that was kind of interesting. It's the story about the two detectives allegedly hired by Trey Gowdy. Well, there's two different versions. There's one version that says Trey Gowdy hired these guys, and that it had something to do with possibly TowerGate, but most likely it had something to do with the Clinton Foundation. And then there's another story that uses the same narrative. The two detectives went to Little Rock to investigate the Clinton Library, but it was Jeff Sessions who sent these guys there, and it had more to do with maybe something having to do with the pedophile investigation. So I watched this story for a few days, and of course the original idea was that these guys, their car was found in a park with the keys in the ignition, and they weren't there. Well, after 3 days, the police at that point would rule that suspicious, something going on, and it would find its way probably into some mainstream media, certainly in the local papers in Little Rock, Arkansas. So I've been watching this story, and it was compelling because it's, people investigating the Clintons and they're missing. And that's always compelling because there's a history of people who investigate the Clintons running into bad luck. So I went ahead, and I wasn't 100% sure on the story, but I went ahead and brought it to your attention just because it was an interesting item on that particular day when I had stumbled onto it. But I've been watching the story. It's never moved. Finally, I told you I would keep watching it, but finally I just got tired of watching it. And so I started to think, after 4, 5, 6 days, still nothing. Because I went to looked up the local papers in Little Rock, and I went to their local newspapers there in Little Rock. Nothing about any of this at all. The story got repeated and picked up and carried over and over again. And so I thought maybe there might be something there, but finally I just got tired of messing with it, and I just picked up the phone and called. I just called Jeff Sessions' office and said, told him about the story, and they said, no, this is not true. There's nothing to it, and we don't believe there's anything to that. So they denied it flatly. Generally you're going to get 1 of 3 responses. You're going to get, yeah, it's true, no, it's not, or 3, we have no comment. they told me, the people I talked to in the office, the person I spoke to in Sessions' office said, no, there's no truth to that at all. So it's probably a fake news story. But then I went ahead and called Trey Gowdy's office just to verify and make sure that wasn't something going on his end, and I got the same response. In fact, they told me, they said, we've had a lot of calls on this story. There's nothing to it. Trey Gowdy didn't send any investigators to Little Rock for any reason, and the story is just not true. So the original place where I got the story, picked it up on, was Above Top Secret, which is the Hageman and Hageman report. Same thing. And Hageman's been around for a very long time. I've been listening to him for years. He does have a good reputation as a good investigator. He was a PI. He did a lot of work for corporations as a private investigator. He's worked with some police departments, detectives on criminal cases and things like that. He's a I think he's a reasonably reliable person, but I think he's gone a little bit to the clickbait side, and so as a result. It looks like there's nothing to this story at all. It doesn't look like it's a true story. It looks like it was just clickbait, fake news, whatever you want to call it. So, as a result, I apologize for wasting your time and mine on this story. It appears there's nothing to it. Forget about it. More important things to talk about anyway. But as a result, I have unsubscribed from Above Top Secret. No longer consider them very much of a reliable source. Won't refer to them in the future. And I have too many other good sources that don't do that kind of thing. So I just don't like it when people do fake news. I mean, I try to research everything I do, try to make sure my sources are good. I look at things before I come out and drop them on you. I'm not trying to be first. I'm trying to be accurate. So I just don't like, getting shifted down a path where there's nothing there, and I waste my time on something that's not important and didn't even happen. And I wasted way too much time on this story, that's for sure. So nothing to it. Forget about it. And consider that a dead story and probably fake news. Clickbait. Okay. Alrighty, well, I got several other videos to do today because there's a lot going on outside of TowerGate. But this week will probably be like the calm before the storm. I don't expect too much to come out, but still do a video every day and let you know if anything does come up. But mostly just kind of a review for today. I'll put the links to those articles. They're worth reading. So if you get a few moments of your time, go ahead and take a look at those links. And we'll be back tomorrow with more on TowerGate. Thank you for subscribing, sharing my video. Y'all have a good day. Bye.